Order, order. Welcome to the meeting of the Backbench Business Committee, where we're considering applications from colleagues for debates. We've got now 10 applications before us to consider. So for those presenting their applications, short introductions will be helpful, and then obviously we'll have questions for them. First up is an application by Alex Sobel, Lisa Smart, Ellie Clowns for a debate on proportional representation for general elections. Alex, over to you.
Thank you, Bob. First of all, it's a pleasure to be back here in front of the committee in which I served with you many years ago now, I think it's fair to say, and you do sterling work in terms of delivering parliamentary business for us on the backbenches, so thank you.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
So thank you for your service, all of you.
That's all you wanted to say.
Absolutely, I'm finished now. No. The issue of proportional representation has really gone up the public and the news agenda, particularly since the last general election. We in Parliament, and I know that Sarah might expand on this, had a 10-minute rule. We have a 10-minute rule bill, Sarah's 10-minute rule bill, which actually went to a division, which is unusual. However, because of the rules, as you know, 10-minute rule bills, it's a short. I won't even call it a debate. It's a very short session with just the proposer, and if it's being opposed, the opponent speaking. I wanted to speak, and I was declined. I was declined by the Deputy Speaker, and many other members wanted to speak on the 10-minute rule bill. It is not going to undermine Sarah's, but it's unlikely it will get to a debate on a sitting Friday. So it's important there's an opportunity for the House to debate this important subject. And as you see, we've got many members wishing to debate it, mainly on the pro side, but I know there are others, and I was just speaking to Jim Shannon outside, who oppose PR in Westminster, who'd be willing to speak against it. In terms of, I know many other debates have particular weeks or time frame they need to abide by. We are more flexible, so whenever the committee was willing to offer us a slot, I'm sure we would take you up on that offer. That's pretty much all I've got to say. If maybe Sarah and Ellie want to expand on that.
Yeah, just very quickly, I'm here representing Lisa Smart because she was unable to make it, but also because, as Alex has already mentioned, I had my 10-minute rule bill before Christmas. And again, as Alex said, a lot of interest in this particular topic right across the House. I think we are in the backdrop of an election which saw quite poor turnout by historical levels, and also a government that's returned on a historically low proportion of the vote. And I think we need to grasp the mettle on this. If we aren't discussing these issues within Parliament, they are being discussed outside, and we need to be able to continue to demonstrate that Parliament is the forum for debates about democracy. And that is why I think it's really, really important that more people than just myself and the member for Broxbourne, I think it was, get to speak about this really, really important issue and do it in a timely fashion.
Thank you. Anything to add?
I think Alex and Sarah have really covered it, and I would just emphasise that there's a great degree of public interest in this topic as well as parliamentarians' interest. So I think it would be not just well attended within the chamber, but of great interest to the general public too.
Martin.
Sarah, you just said that you'd got a support across the House, but there was no Conservative members listed. Do you think that's a weakness?
Well, I would say that actually, there are many other opposition parties apart from the Conservatives. Obviously, it's entirely up to the Conservatives, their own particular views on this. But I would say, if I think this would be a great opportunity. I understand it's Conservative Party policy to defend first past the post for parliamentary elections, and I think we need to hear those voices. And I think it would be a great opportunity for Conservative Party members to stand up and explain why they think that's the case. As I say, it's very much a Liberal Democrat Party policy to have PR. There's support for that across other parties. But, the whole point is we need to have a debate about this. Yeah. The status quo shouldn't just continue undefended and unexamined. I
mean, we want to have a contested debate. I mean, in my own party, there are views on both sides, and I know, that it's an opportunity for, like Sarah says, Conservative members to defend first past the post in Westminster.
I mean, Alex, you do actually say in reasons for the debate, the governing party has formally recognised the first past the post is flawed.
At Labour Party conference.
Party,
Yeah.
actually, is that
At Labour Party conference, that is what it says
Right.
in our motion, which was passed at Labour Party conference. That is Labour Party.
But it's not the
conference.
government's position.
That is maybe we should have worded it slightly differently. So I apologise to the Backbenchers Committee on that point.
Doesn't the manifesto talk about eroding trust?
It does talk about eroding. Anyway,
The
we're getting
system
the
eroding.
minutiae here a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, so you've made your case. Your application is for the Chamber. Would you consider a Westminster Hall debate if we, because you're going to possibly be waiting quite a long time for Chamber time?
If we were waiting post the February recess, then we would consider a 90-minute debate in Westminster Hall.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The clerks will be in touch with you shortly after the meeting's concluded. Okay, fine. Next application is Jerome Mayhew, which means we're considering 11 applications this afternoon. Jerome, your application is for improving financial education.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for hearing me. I feel like I've cue-barged, but anyway, I'm all for it. Yeah, sorry about that. So the reason why I'm here is because I'm chair. Quiet and down at the back now. I'm chair of the all-party parliamentary group for financial education for young people. For the very few members of parliament who haven't heard of that, we are the largest APPG there is, second only to the all-party parliamentary group for beer. And the reason why we're as big as we are is because it's a huge issue. The level of financial illiteracy. I mean, even if you looked at parliamentarians, I think lots of us are particularly bad in learning how to deal with money. We weren't taught about it at school, and yet it's one of the biggest things which we have to deal with as adults. And the difference between someone who's good with money, in the broadest definition, and someone who's poor with money, the difference over the course of their lifetime is profound. And yet our educational system currently does not take this, in my view, sufficiently seriously. And this is a cross-party issue that we've really got to focus on. We thought that we had a big campaign about 10 years ago, and in 2014 we got FinEd as part of the national curriculum for secondary schools. But then I did some work recently and we found out that 2/3 of teachers who were responsible for teaching it did not themselves know that it was even on the national curriculum, let alone, and only 1/3 of students have any recollection of financial education whilst they were in education. So that's at secondary school. And in primary education, even though the Money and Pension Service has done some work which suggests that people's base approach to money is fixed round about by the age of 7, it's not in the primary curriculum. And you can say, well, you know, I started off, frankly, thinking about this in terms of pensions and ISAs and all that kind of side of financial education. But actually, it's about debt. If you come from a financially chaotic family, then financial management is a middle-class secret. And because you're not learning it at school, certainly, and you're not learning it from home. And so we're condemning generations to follow each other in poor use of money, and it's about budgeting and about debt management, not going to loan sharks, the way in which you can deal with debt. So for all those reasons, it's a huge issue. It's topical because the government is undertaking right now a review of the national curriculum. We need the voice of members of parliament, particularly backbenchers, to be heard on this. And it's one of those few areas as backbenchers where if we can make a small change in government policy with no money associated with this, we're not asking for a big treasury support, it's about a change of focus in our educational approach. Then as backbenchers, it's one of the few things we can do that over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years could have a really profound impact on the quality of our constituents' lives. If we can help to fix the financial educational lacuna that exists. So it's topical, it's really important, it's absolutely square behind what backbenchers should be doing, and there's wide interest. I've got a list of 21 backbenchers who are supporting this. You can see that there's widespread across the parties. I could have got more, but given that I used to sit on your esteemed committee, and we need to get comfortably over the 15 hurdle, and what we're looking for is a general debate for half a day in the chamber, and I think we can more than fill that.
Thanks. Will?
Thank you for bringing this in. And financial education is massively important. I completely agree with you. The one sticking point on this for me is there's not enough of the government. You need at least a 50-50 split. I think you would be able to get that, but...
You want more government?
More government, yeah. You've currently, on this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got 21 speakers. So you want to be looking at least 50%, if not a little bit more in favour of the government. I don't think that would be a struggle, because I do agree that it's an important issue, and I would happily come and support this debate. So
well, the other 6 in that case.
that would be one of the things I would say, is just get more members for
well,
it.
I can easily do that, as you well know. Claire Hazelgrove, I hope she's on here. Yes, she's the deputy chair, and I'll just set her task, and I'm sure she'll...
Other than that, it looks good to me.
Okay, thank you. James, the first opportunity there is actually next Monday in the chamber. But there is a but that I just put to this. You'll have known that last night we had to pull the second debate because of government statements and UQs.
Yep.
Next Monday we've already allocated the debate that got lost last night to next Monday. So you'd be on the second slot. If that's offered to you, would you accept it?
Probably, but what's the alternative?
Sorry?
What would be Plan B?
Well, Plan B will be we'll offer to another application further on.
Yeah.
And you go in the queue.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'd I'd say yes. Speaking for myself.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much.
We move on to an application from Ruth Jones and Ben Lake for a debate on Welsh affairs on St David's Day.
Thank you very much. Fancy meeting you. Thank you, Chair, and it's a pleasure to sit in front of you this afternoon as the Backbench Committee. I sit here as the Chair of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee. Ben Lake from Plaid Cymru is my sort of honorary deputy, so that's fair enough. And we're here, as Chair's already alluded to ask for a request a St David's Day debate looking at Welsh affairs. As you know, St David's Day is on the 1st of March, and we were looking for the 6th of March because that ties in with our Wales in London week, which, although it's called a week, it's 10 days, but it spreads over that time. So it would fit in because businesses and important VIPs from Wales will be up in London at that point, so it would be very timely for us. We are looking for a 3-hour debate in the chamber, which I realise is a precedent, but it has happened in the past, and I'm sure my colleague Ben will elaborate on that in a minute. We also have an opportunity, as the committee will know, the number of MPs in Wales has gone down from 40 to 32 at the last election, and the majority of those are now new members, so it's an ideal opportunity for all of them, if they've indicated, that they would like to come and speak about the interests, the values of Wales and how important it is that we get that aired in the chamber. And of course, it's a cross-party request. We have, I think, 8 from the government and 7 from opposition, so hopefully that would fulfil the criteria. And I'll hand over to my colleague Ben.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, for allowing us to make this application. We've been very lucky in the past, actually, that the Backbench Business Committee has granted us a debate on St David's Day. Indeed, it's been held annually now since 2010, but the first sort of similar event took place back in 1944, so there's a great deal of precedent here, and as a historian, I think it's quite important that we keep some of these traditions going. Indeed, last year, it attracted a great deal of media attention, given that it was very kindly given to us at the same time as the Wales Week London and the St David's Day celebrations. And so, in addition to quite widespread coverage in the media in Wales, it also hit some of the headlines in Radio 4 bulletins as well, which was very good. That was a debate about whether St David was actually born in my constituency or my previous neighbours, Right Honourable Stephen Crabb. Indeed, at the last debate in 2024, the Deputy Speaker at the time, Nigel Evans, who was in the chair, commented on just how well attended it was, and indeed at the end stated, and I quote, "I have chaired a few backbench business debates in the past that have finished early, but if this debate had been allowed more time, it would clearly have gone the distance, and people would have had the opportunity to say far more things." There's never a need for a Welsh person and a Welsh MP for an excuse to say more things, but I very much hope that the committee might look kindly on our application.
Okay, well, thank you for getting the application in nice and early, because it allows us Once we know about when time is allocated, then we can allocate it. Obviously, we don't know the position in March. It's up to the government to allocate time to us. But obviously, we will look at that appropriately, and you'll join the queue if that's appropriate. Any questions from any colleagues? No? Thank you for your presentation, and the clerks will be in touch with you shortly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we then move on to an application for a debate on International Women's Day from Dawn Butler. Dawn.
Yeah. I'm going to sit with her as well because I'm co-signed.
Of course.
Okay?
Working in partnership together.
Over to you, Dawn.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. In 2016, I was instrumental in ensuring that we had the first International Women's Debate on the floor of the House. And I worked with the then government to ensure that that happened. And since then, every year, we have had a well-attended debate for International Women's Day. And this year, it's an acceleration is the theme of International Women's Day, and I think that we need to ensure that not only do we have a full-day debate, but we accelerate that charge in terms of talking about all things women and why it's important that we have this debate, especially with DEI under threat in some countries, the rights of women in Afghanistan being taken away. We need to have this international debate. Thank you, Chair.
Anything to add, Karen?
I fully support this. I've taken part in the debates myself over the years, both as a minister and as a backbencher, and they have been incredibly, it's really the House at its best. Yeah. They have been the kind of debates where it's given members the opportunity to speak about these really difficult issues, particularly the global issues and the treatment of women around the world, and I think it would be a great shame if this House didn't mark International Women's Day in the traditional style and have this debate.
And can I just say, Chair, International Women's Day falls on the 8th, which is a weekend. So I would imagine that we would have it during the week on the Wednesday or the Thursday, the 6th maybe.
It's extremely unlikely that we get allocated a Wednesday for time. Normally our time is Thursdays, but the government have taken to giving us Mondays for some reason or other. It could be that that's because it goes on till 10 o'clock at night, but that's another matter. So we don't know what time will be allocated. Obviously, we'll work with you to try and make sure it's an appropriate day close to International Women's Day, but there can be no guarantees.
If I can just add, the following week is the UN Conference on the Status of Women, which a lot of the select committees and APPGs will be in New York discussing the status of women. So if it's the week after the 8th, we won't have such good turnout because of the fact that there is the global conference happening in the UN at that point.
We just heard the previous application is looking for probably the same Thursday as you are, so
we realise that.
We'll try and see what we can arrange. Questions, colleagues? Anyone? No? Everyone happy?
I think all I was going to say, Chair, sorry,
Chair.
I think you said that you want a full day of debate. We might need some more opposition speakers to make sure there's a better 50-50 split at the moment. So I think there's 36 down overall, which is a really fantastic number, but I think there's 12 at the moment, so we might just need a few more opposition speakers to make sure there's a split on the day with the full day's debate.
No problem. I'm sure that more people will add their name. I mean, those 36 came within 24 hours, so it shows that
sure
there's
there'll
a
be
key
the demand for it, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. The clerks will be in touch with you. Karen, stay where you are.
I'll stay where I am, shall I? I'll shift over one, shall I?
Your application is for a debate on the Modern Slavery Act 10 years on?
It is, yes. So thank you very much, Chair, and for giving me the opportunity to put forward this proposal. The Modern Slavery Act 2015 was absolutely world-leading. We were the first country to pass a dedicated Modern Slavery Act. We introduced new offences in that Act, new protections for victims, different ways of approaching perpetrators and protection orders, etc. And it was, at the time, a real landmark achievement that the House came together in a very consensual way and passed. It was actually the very last piece of legislation to get royal assent in the 2010-2015 Parliament. Since then, 10 years on, there have been reviews and there have been talk of further legislation and further work, but very little has materialised, if I'm honest. And we have seen other countries take up the mantle on this issue and probably start to improve on the legislation that we brought in. So I would very much like to have the opportunity to discuss this issue. It is the biggest human rights scandal in the world. 50 million people globally are estimated to be victims of modern slavery and human trafficking, over 100,000 in the UK. So this is something that does need to be raised, it does need to be spoken about. You will see that we have got 10 government members and 5 from opposition parties. I'm confident we would have more, but it was in the same way as the previous comments. These were quickly received signatures. And I should just also say that I have co-chaired the all-party parliamentary group since 2019. And towards the end of the last Parliament, it was getting harder to find members. We had our first meeting of the APPG, and it was absolutely wonderful. So many new members taking a real interest in this area and joining the APPG. So I'm absolutely confident that we could fill a day's debate on this, marking that 10-year anniversary.
Thank you. Questions, colleagues?
Oh, and I should just say the date. So the 10 years was, I think it was the 25th or 26th of March 2015. So we'd be looking for that end of March, if possible, to mark as close to the 10 years as, I think the 26th is the Thursday this time, isn't it?
In my head, I don't know.
I think it is.
Have to look it up. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Any questions from colleagues? No? Jack, you're... Oh, no, you go.
Do you feel like having it at the end of March is key to getting speakers along, or would you be interested in having it slightly earlier, before the February recess, if we were able to offer you an appropriate slot?
So we wanted to do it because we want to do quite a lot of events to mark the 10 years. And so it would be, I think, more powerful to have it as close to the 10-year mark as possible. But clearly, if it's the case that actually the only opportunity we would have would be to do it sooner, then we're not going to say no, but we would. I think there will be a lot of things happening in Parliament and beyond to mark the 10 years, and it would be a very effective thing to have it in the same week.
It's just a really similar comment to Dawn's. Just a couple more opposition speakers to make sure we've got an even split would be fantastic. But I'm really supportive. Funnily enough, I took as a county councillor a modern slavery motion to Suffolk County Council, which was passed a couple of years after this. So the impact this had at kind of national government and local government level was really significant. So really happy to see this.
Okay, thank you. The clerks will be in touch shortly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We then come to application from Andrew Pakes. Andrew. And your application is the recognition of the value of apprenticeships at National Apprenticeships Week. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hopefully it's relatively self-explanatory. It's been I've done my own apprenticeship. This is the first time I've done a Backbench Business report, so I feel I'm living the learning experience as well. So apologies if there were some errors on it. We've had Peter Bedford come forward as a Conservative member who has put his name, so we're beginning to get the 50-50 split on it. As I think all of you will be aware, apprentices are in all of our constituencies. The debate would be an opportunity for people to speak about their locality, their place, the challenges we find. We know that there is good cross-party support. I speak in support of this as the co-chair of the all-party group on apprenticeships, which in the last Parliament brought together a good cross-party group of MPs and peers in support of the apprenticeship model and giving it more visibility and prestige within the policy-making process. In the new Parliament, we've continued again with a good cross-party group of peers and MPs in support of it. So I think we'll be able to generate some wider support for it. The date of the week of the 10th to the 16th, it would be ideal if the committee is so willing for it to be as close to that as possible, because I think there will be a focus across the country and in all of our constituencies around apprenticeships. I said I think gives us that chance to highlight our local patch, but also put the challenges and opportunities of apprenticeships onto the national stage.
Thank you. Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of touched on it, and it's the first one. But yeah, I mean, I would say you're going to need some more opposition names for that. So, you know, roughly 50-50. I mean, it doesn't have to be quite that, but I would say you need some more opposition names. And I think for a topic like this, I think you'll easily get them. But I would just say if you go away and get some more any opposition party will do, and obviously you've got Conservative and Lib Dem, so you've kind of got that. But if you could, anyone that you can get would be really useful, I think. I think that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very doable.
Your application is obviously for a Tuesday slot in Westminster Hall. Obviously, we have to allocate when the answering department is the right one. I'm assuming this is education.
Yes, it is.
Answering, yeah, okay. So the closest slot we would have for that would be Tuesday, the 4th of February, when education answer. So would that be appropriate for you if you're offered that?
That's when I would happily take another day. I was filling that in because I think it gave me a forced choice of when the date was. In terms of picking a Monday or Thursday, I would happily look at another date if you think there's a more appropriate one as well.
It's either Monday or a Thursday. That's in Westminster Hall. Sorry, either a Tuesday or a Thursday. Yeah, that we're able to offer. So,
if there was a Thursday date closer, I would be happy with that as well.
Okay. Well, the clerks will be in touch with you shortly. Thank you very much for your attendance. Next application, we've got Adam Jogia on government support for coalfield communities. Right, over to you, Adam.
Thank you very much, Chair. And this is the first time I've been able to appear before the committee, so thank you for listening. Mr. Shannon said he would share one of his season tickets with me if that helps guide the committee.
Don't be tempted.
That's what will help. It's Manchester United, it works for me. As members of the committee will see, I've seek a half-day debate in the Chamber on government support for coalfield communities. I represent a very good coalfield community in Newcastle-under-Lyme, but as you will see from the explanation and reasons I've set out for the debate, there is so much more that we need to do, and we will have seen the government make progress on the mine workers pension scheme. There's more work to do on the BSCC, and we need, I think, to give voice to some of the concerns that exist and remain in coalfield communities like mine, but importantly up and down the country. And just to draw colleagues' attention to the signatories, listening to other colleagues, I think we have the most of any applicant today. 32 from the government benches, 5 from the main opposition, 5 from the third party, 4 from Northern Ireland, including both sides of the political divide there, and 1 independent. So I think we give voice to all parts, both of the House, but also the country as we seek this debate. And I think the important thing that I'd like members of the committee to take on board is this debate will not be about moaning or complaining. It's actually about identifying the challenges that are there and finding solutions. So whether it's job insecurity, whether it's health inequality, whether it's making sure that as the government's plans for growth are developed and, all being well, successful, that coalfield community is not left behind and forgotten. So it will be a positive debate that doesn't just acknowledge the history, the age-old heritage and history of our coalfield communities, but also the immense amount of potential that remains in them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from colleagues? Obviously, you've got a very large number of potential speakers here. There is nothing in terms of priority, in terms of dates.
As soon as Chairman would be helpful, and some colleagues who've indicated they'll speak have obviously said depending on when the date is, but I only, both on Mr. Shannon's advice and the clerks, asked people who would be interested in turning up if they were able to do it. And I think the fact that we've got former cabinet ministers from the opposition and senior backbenchers from the government speaks to the interest in this.
Okay, lovely. Right, well, the clerks will be in touch with you shortly.
Thank you very much indeed.
For an offer of a date. We now come to our season ticket holder, Jim Shannon, who...
I've taken it, Chair.
It's not just one application, but 3.
Thank you.
And we're going to take them in the order of, first off, benefits of medicinal cannabis. Over to you, Jim. And at the moment, according to what we have, there are 3 supporters.
I'm able, Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you for giving me the chance to come along. I've got additional names. I can read them out. Or do you just want me to name them?
How many and,
okay, we have
which parties? Not necessarily the names.
14 in total. They're from the Labour, DUPs, Conservative, Labour, Independent, Labour, Lib Dem, Labour.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
If you like to pass those names to the clerks, then we've got those for our records.
And
do you want to present your application?
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, this is a very personal one for me, Mr. Chairman. Many moons ago, back in 2018, I think it was, I brought a mother from Northern Ireland over with her child. Sorry, I didn't bring her child because her child wouldn't have been able to travel, to ask for the first medicinal cannabis prescription under government process. I always remember that when Danielle came, as I was saying to somebody else one other day, when Danielle came to present the case, the mother of the wee child who was having epileptic fits, she would have had genuinely as many as a dozen a day. It helped back her growth, it helped back her ability to interact and be socially engaged with in her class. Couldn't attend classes because she was always having epileptic fits. But anyway, the story was, I hope I'll get the right minister, Mark Field, I think it was. I knew that if I put forward the case, I suspected that maybe Mark would have been paused, but I knew if Danielle put forward the case, there's no way in the world he was going to say no, and he didn't. And we got the first under the process that he had led forward to have medicinal cannabis. It's been a long time since we've had a debate on it. I was really quite intrigued, I have to say, that when I asked for those who had an interest, I think I said to you on the week, actually last Thursday, I was actually wondering where I was going to be able to get the numbers of MPs that would wish to speak on this issue, because it's a bit of a niche issue. If you have somebody who is getting medicinal cannabis for a medical purpose, then very clearly it's easier to make the case. But anyway, Johnny Reid, who's Scottish Labour, and David Mundell, Scottish Conservative, had suggested these names, and these names all were formulated through debate. So the debate, I'm rambling a bit, but the debate is to have an opportunity to discuss this matter. It can be help with long-term chronic conditions, chronic pain, mental health conditions, neurological conditions, epilepsy in particular, and that was the one that I was presented with as an MP. So I think it's time, Mr. Chairman, and fellow colleagues, to have this debate. Now, despite the legislation, access remains limited, and that's the issue. So it would be helpful to have the debate so that patients could find themselves easier to find a way through the system to help those wee bits of youngsters. And that wee, the wee girl in particular, Sophie, who I knew that wee girl when she was born. I suppose when you're my age, Mr. Chairman, you maybe know lots of people when they were born. But the point I'm making is, I knew the progress when she was born. I knew what the hold-ups were, and where the medicinal cannabis reduced all those things to one epileptic fit per day. Now, you can't. Some people might dispute that, but we had the physical evidence to prove that. So I'm not pro-drugs. It's never going to be my case, but I'm very, very much pro-medicinal cannabis because I see the benefits. I'm sorry for rambling a bit, but it's an issue that's very close to my heart.
Okay, well, thank you, Jim, for that. You've obviously added extra names. The first slot that will be available to us will be Thursday, the 30th of January in Westminster Hall. If that slot's offered, would you be able to take that for this debate?
I think I probably would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Any questions from colleagues? No. We move on to your second application, which is supporting the vascular sector in a future NHS.
And I've got two new names to that as well: Lewis Cocking, Conservative Party, and Robin Swan, Ulster University, to be the health spokesperson for Northern Ireland, and that would be good to have them all on board. Again, I'm chair of the APPG for vascular and venous health. I understand the issues. We've got a real chronic problem with it back home. I know it's a devolved matter, but the chronic matter we have back home is mirrored here in Westminster in the United Kingdom, and it's The lack of focus has resulted in lower public and clinical awareness, and we're hoping that this debate will lift that focus, lift that awareness, and ensure that we've called for the establishment of a national clinical director for vascular disease. That's going to be the focus probably of what we're asking for, because we believe it's at that level of importance and criticality as well. The NCD would help to standardise the care pathways, alleviate workforce shortages where there has been, and ensure that those with particular interest in health can be there. So the request is one that we believe gives an opportunity to improve outcomes for patients and strengthen the NHS's resolve to meet future challenges within the sector. And I'm the health spokesperson, and I'm very, very pleased as chair of that committee, but also as a health spokesperson to ask and request, along with all my colleagues there who have a particular interest in health issues as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. This application's only got 7 signatures at the moment.
Added 2.
Are there extra ones for this?
Lewis Cocking, he's a Conservative, and Robin Swan, who's the Ulster Unionist. He's the former health spokesperson and interested in vascular health. So I think we've got a team there who are particularly interested in the issue.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other questions from colleagues? Okay, well, the clerks will be in touch with you. And the third application, sorry, I've skipped over one because we're inundated with your requests, which is for the award of the posthumous Victoria Cross to Blair Main.
Yeah. I actually, Chairman, first of all, I thank you for giving me the chance to present this. There was an EDM printed back, and I got a copy of it out of the library from 2005. Some of the MPs are still here, but I have to say that most of them have moved on and maybe went upwards or wherever they were going, and those who have retired. Look, the Rogue Heroes SAS on a Sunday night, compulsive viewing for me anyway, and probably for most of the nation. Is it true? Well, no, not entirely. The Blair Main that I would have been aware of as a small boy in Newton Ards was a man who never swore, according to those who served with him. He certainly was an incredible, courageous guy. He had a level of courage, determination. I could bore you to death here, Mr. Chairman, with some of the stories that I know reading Blair Main's autobiography. But the thing is, in the square in Newton Ards, the main square of the major town, we've got a statue to Blair Main. We have called the leisure centre in Newton Ards, the major leisure centre for the Ards and North Down Council, we've called it after Blair Main. And what we've managed to do here is galvanise all of the active, what we say, for what it's highly unlikely Sinn Féin would ever sign up to the way, but they're not MPs here, so that's not going to happen. But all of the active MPs from Northern Ireland have all added their name to it, from all the parties. We've got Scottish Conservatives, John Cooper and John Lamont. We have Adam Joggy and Scott Arthur from Labour, Lib Dems, Jamie Stone, and we are hopeful that this will be a chance to correct a wrong. And I'm going to say the reason why we're doing it. There was a soldier from Vietnam, from New Zealand, who fought in Vietnam, and just in the last month, after 50 years, he got a posthumous award of a VC for his courage in Vietnam. So we figure that the time is right for Blair Main to get his posthumous award for 80 years ago when he fought in the Second World War. He got 4 DSOs. The last one, and I say this because I want to have it on record, the acts of courage and bravery have stood the test of time, as is the desire of my constituency to have the wrongful decision to withhold from Blair Main the highest honour of Victoria Cross. The honour, the fourth of the DSOs that he got was withheld due to a typing error of a singular act, or valor rather than a single act, and should be bestowed posthumously. And the aim of this debate is to make that happen. I believe the series on TV has lifted the profile. I mean, people who didn't know Blair Main suddenly know him. He was a man, the leader of men. That guy you see on TV, he was a man with the courage. He was a man, when he got up, all the soldiers followed. The only person in my life that I've ever met would be Bob Stewart, former MP. I always thought that Bob Stewart was a leader of men. I maybe not everybody knows him, but that's me speaking. And I could understand why the people followed Bob Stewart, because he was a soldier's man, a leader, an officer. He could do it, and Blair Main can do the same. So I think it's an opportunity, if you don't mind me asking, for this posthumous VC to be awarded. Precedent's been set. I think the mood of the nation is to let it happen. And we in Newton Ards, and in Strangford in particular, we want our boy Blair Main to get the award that he should get.
Okay, thank you. The one thing I would say about this application is it's a bit light on government names supporting.
Labour. Well, I've got two. I can probably get more. I'm working with John Cooper and with Adam Joggy, by the way, to do that. There's a couple of other guys. I'm just trying to remember who they all are. A couple of Labour wanted to ask me to add their name, but I'm afraid that today's been a busy day and I haven't got the other two names on. But look, I'll have them through to you.
Okay. Well, I mean, it would help, I think, your case for more government names.
Okay, yeah.
Any other questions from colleagues?
Could I get one request, if you don't mind me asking, if it's humanly possible? I'm of an opinion that this debate should be one we should have in the chamber. Now, Mr. Chairman, you might think differently, and I would succumb to your knowledge better than mine, but I'm just asking...
Well, it would help us if you met us halfway by submitting the application for the chamber in the first place, rather than just for Westminster Hall.
Oh, right, okay. Right. There you are. Well, let's get that corrected then. Okay.
Anyway.
Either or, okay, either or.
So, as you're a well-experienced member of applying for debates here, if you can get the extra names then from the government side, then we'll look at the request favourably, I'm sure.
Another one I haven't done too much chasing with the Lib Dems, but you're very fortunate this time round to have a number of ex and former servant soldiers who I think about.
Yeah, but Jim, it's getting the balance between government and opposition.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Whoever the opposition might be.
Try and get 5, Jim, and then you've got enough.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The clerks will be in touch with you about all of your applications.
We'll try to think of a few more ideas for another week. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. That concludes the applications. Now, I notice Tan Desai is here, no doubt.
Yeah, I believe there's one more application. I've got a slight I've got.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
slight
we need to take Chris first.
All right, take it. All right.
Sorry, let's get Chris. Sorry, mine. Oh dear.
Not that I've got a vested interest in the final application or anything, but.
Yeah. So. The final application is one of our committee members, Chris Vince, on educational opportunities for young carers. Obviously, Chris will present his application and take no part in the deliberation over it. Chris, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm really proud to put forward this debate. Young carers, as many people know, is something that's very close to my heart. Up until July of last year, I worked for a charity that supported young carers, and before that I was a teacher. So I think plenty of things that we consider about young carers and how we can support them, but I think I wanted a debate which was sort of focused on one particular area. So I think talking about educational opportunities is a really good one. Now, that could be, and there's lots of things to be said on that. The previous government made it that it was mandatory to report young carers on the school census, but we know that 72% of schools still say they've got no young carers. That isn't correct. I would put it out there. But what I want to talk more generally about is the barriers that young carers face, and I have talked in this place a number of times about my experience of what that looks like. So I think that's a really a good place to start when we talk about young carers, not just in terms of in school, but also moving forward, the transition to university as well. And it was really interesting to have some young carers talk about that transition period as well. Obviously, as you will see, I've got a range of political parties who've been willing to speak. I would add to that name another Labour name, which is Jess Asato. Lots of Liberal Democrats there. I have got one Conservative because I spoke to him about it, and he was keen to do it. But I'm sure that there will be more that would be interested to speak if that came forward. But hopefully, it's got quite a nice mix of government and opposition. And obviously, I will mention now that obviously the 12th of March is Young Care Action Day. I recognise that a lot of people are talking about debates in March. I'd be happy if it was before that, but I'd ask for it not to be after that, if you see what I mean, because it would be good. I mean, like I would, if you were to say to me, we can't do March, you can do it in February, that would be absolutely fine. I would just rather have it before than after, because then obviously when it comes to Young Carers Action Day, then we can talk about the debate, and that would be the way I would look at it, if that makes sense. But happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from colleagues? No? Thank you very much, and the clerks will be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Anne, that concludes the applications.
Yes.
I know you're requesting, obviously, a Defence Committee statement.
That's it.
And to prejudge what you're likely to say to us, the committee in its deliberations before the meeting agreed to have the two statements, one from Defence and the other from the Treasury committees. But, and here's the big but, as I warned you privately, this will be, we're now going to get to a stage where there will be competitive bids for select committee statements. So because you've had so many, you are likely to fall off. But not this time, because there are only two. But when we get to a lot of select committees doing reports, your chances of getting a select committee statement will be lessened because of the number you've already had.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Chair, and it's a very knowledgeable committee that has agreed already before I was able to make my pitch, but hopefully you will have seen that the Defence Committee has been doing a lot of work. The fact that just as your committee is hard working, our committee, this is our third report. If others obviously haven't quite got to that level yet, then that's their business. But as far as I'm concerned, all of the issues that we have produced reports on are matters of great significance to the country, whether it was on service accommodation. Thank you very much for granting that. That was an issue of great concern to our brave servicemen and women, as well as their families. The second report on artificial intelligence, or the lack thereof, as was felt by the committee within Defence, that I think was very, very important, and thank you very much for granting that. In terms of this report on the Global Combat Air Programme, that is a programme, a multi-billion-pound programme, that will have a significant impact on our nation's defence, on national security, on our collaboration with international partners, as well as thousands of jobs across the UK, so economic opportunities, exports, etc. So all of these matters are of huge importance, and I feel, and that's taking on board your comments, Chair, during our discussion prior to this. I felt that there may be members on the committee that would have thought, oh, 1 minute, we just keep going Defence Committee, Defence Committee, Defence Committee, just in case there were lots of other submissions. But these are hugely significant issues, so please do bear that in mind for future submissions from us as well.
Okay. I would just have to say, just gently, we don't normally take oral evidence, if you like, for statements to be made. Made an exception in this case.
Yes,
but we shouldn't consider that to be a precedent for the future, because we don't want competing select committee chairmen coming along requesting such things. So the answer, we pre-agreed that this would happen. So thank you for coming along, and we look forward to the statement on Monday.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
concludes the public business for the committee. The committee will now retire and consider the applications in private.
Brilliant.
Order.